Skara Brae was inhabited before the Egyptian pyramids were built and had flourished for centuries before construction began at Stonehenge. The structures of this village survive in impressive conditions. Even the furniture of the houses has been preserved remarkably well. There's no other place in Northern Europe where we are able to see such rich evidence of how our prehistoric ancestors actually lived. My name is Kaylee and today we will investigate Skara Brae, the Scottish Pompeii. I know I promised you guys a video about the Dutch dolmens, but I have to postpone that due to the fact that the Dutch weather at the moment is very rainy and cold. Next week we will travel to the dolmens and I promise you that the video will be uploaded shortly thereafter. But to make it up to you, I decided that this week should be special. So today I will tell you everything there is to know about Europe's most complete Neolithic village called Skara Brae in Scotland. Skara Brae is located on the Bay of Scale on the west coast of mainland Orkney, the largest of the Orkney Islands in Scotland. Orkney is an archipelago in the Northern Isles of Scotland. It has about 70 islands, of which 20 are inhabited. The largest island, mainland, is often referred to as the mainland, and it's the 6th largest Scottish island. The Orkney Islands have been inhabited for at least 8,500 years. Originally inhabited by the Mesolithic tribes, the Neolithic settlers, and eventually the Picts. Skara Brae is one of 4 sites making up the heart of Neolithic Orkney, which are all UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The other 3 are Maes Howe, the Stones of Stenness, and the Ring of Brodgar. Skara Brae was inhabited for approximately 600 years between 3200 BCE and 2500 BCE. Back then, the village would have been further inland and not as close to the shores as we see today. Steady erosion of the land over the centuries has changed the landscape considerably. In Orkney there was a shortage of wood, so the people of Skara Brae had to work with the only building material available to them, which was stone. Radiocarbon dating showed that there were 2 main phases of occupation. Phase 1 started around 3200 BCE, and there are remnants of 2 houses from this earlier phase. The earlier houses were circular and made up of 1 room with a central hearth, with beds set into the walls on either side. Opposite of the main entrance was a shelved stone dresser, a piece of Stone Age furniture that has come to represent Skara Brae. The remains of these older structures remain visible on the site as rough outlines, as seen here. The second phase of occupation started around 2900 BCE, and there are 8 houses from this later phase. These later houses followed the same basic design, but on a larger scale. The house shape changed slightly, becoming more rectangular with rounded internal corners. And the beds were no longer built into the wall, but protruded the main living area. Each house was accessed through a low doorway with a stone slab door, which could be closed and secured by a bar that fitted into the holes of the door jambs. Although Skara Brae was in use for about 7 generations, according to current excavation evidence, it never grew larger than 8 houses, housing no more than between 50 and 100 people at a time. At 2500 BCE, the site got abandoned and wind-blown sand then covered the area. There are many theories as to why the people of Skara Brae left. Most popular theories involve a major storm or disaster. This is due to the fact that it's so well preserved it often gets compared to Pompeii. Pompeii had been abandoned and completely covered by ash after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Skara Brae often gets referred to as the Scottish Pompeii, but there's no clear indication that a disaster ever took place. The only comparison between Pompeii and Skara Brae is the fact that both are so incredibly well preserved. As said before, the builders of Skara Brae had only one building material: stone. This is one of the main reasons this village is so well preserved. They had to use stone to make furniture, such as cupboards, shelves, dressers and beds. Skara Brae had been covered by sand for over 4,000 years, thus protecting and preserving the entire village, the buildings and the furniture incredibly well. In the winter of 1850, a severe storm hit Scotland, causing widespread damage and the loss of over 200 lives. In the Bay of Scale, the storm with an exceptionally high tide stripped the grass from a large mound then known as Skara Brae. When the storm cleared, some local villagers found the outline of a village consisting of small houses without roofs. The local laird, William Watt of Scale, then began an amateur excavation. But after uncovering 4 houses, they abandoned the site in 1868. The site then remained undisturbed until 1913, when in one single weekend people plundered the village and took away an unknown number of artifacts. Another storm swept away part of one of the houses in 1925, and it was determined that the site should not only be protected from the sea, but also investigated. Professor and archaeologist Vera Gordon-Childe was then called upon to professionally excavate and preserve the site. In the summers of 1925 and 1926, they constructed a large seawall to protect and preserve the site from the ocean. The archaeological investigation then started in 1927, but back then radiocarbon dating didn't exist and Childe loathed excavating on site. The age of the grooved ware pottery found at the site hadn't been established yet, so it was impossible to date the village. During archaeological investigation, a series of drains had been found to run underneath the village. These all emanated from the small cell from each house. The drains joined together to form one large drain. During excavations, these drains were identified as being indoor toilets. Carved stone balls were found in areas where there were also Pictish symbols, so it was assumed that these mysterious balls came from Pictish times. Even though this was the perceived thinking of the time, Professor Childe always assumed that Skara Brae was Neolithic. After his death, he would have been proven right. In 1972 and 1973, another archaeological excavation took place. This time, they were able to use radiocarbon dating to determine the age of Skara Brae. The radiocarbon results indicate that the occupation of Skara Brae began around 3180 BCE. And after the climate changed, becoming much colder and wetter around 2500 BCE, the site got abandoned. Unfortunately, after almost 50 years, the other results of this archaeological excavation have never been published. And after all this time, we still don't know what the findings were, besides these given radiocarbon dates. The inhabitants of Skara Brae were makers and users of grooved ware pottery. Grooved ware pottery originates from Orkney around the 3rd millennium BCE. The houses were constructed into mounds known as middens. A midden is an old dump for domestic waste, such as animal bones, human excrement, botanical materials, and other types of stuff. Constructing the houses partially underground made them earth shelters. This provided the houses with stability, and acted as insulation against Orkney's harsh winter climate. Each house of Phase 2 measured to about 40 square meters. 7 of the 8 houses have similar furniture, with the beds on either side of the entrance, a central stone hearth, and a stone dresser behind it. Each house had the larger bed on the right side and the smaller bed on the left side, indicating that the right side of the home would have been the men's side and that the left side of the home would have been the women's side. Separated from the houses is the building known as House 8, which is currently referred to as the marketplace. This building stood apart from the midden encased houses. The structure is egg-shaped with a porch at the entrance. It had no beds and it was extensively decorated with carved patterns on the walls, and it had alcoves. This building most likely had a number of different roles, perhaps a workspace or a communal meeting space, deliberately separated from the rest of the houses. House 7 is most likely one of the oldest buildings on the site, being remodeled over the years. It's the best preserved structure at Skara Brae. It has some clear differences from the rest of the houses. Perhaps the most obvious is that it's completely detached from the rest of the village. Access to the structure was gained through a dedicated side passage, a passage that only served House 7. Another difference is that House 7 is built on natural sand, while the other structures are built on remnants of previous structures. The idea that House 7 was not a mere dwelling is strengthened by the fact that the door could only be bolted from the outside. This means that whoever went into House 7 had no physical control over when they got out. Because it was specifically designed to be sealed off from the outside, it has been suggested that House 7 was used to exclude people from the community. Excavations inside revealed the bodies of 2 women in a stone-built grave under the right-hand bed. The inhumations in a stone cist, decorated with carvings, were made prior to the structure being built. There are multiple theories surrounding the purpose of House 7. Perhaps it was used in rituals surrounding death. Or was it a birth house, separating theoretical rituals surrounding childbirth from everyday life? It could have been a structure used for initiation rituals, such as marriage or coming of age. Or it could have simply been used as a jail. There's no clear indication, so your guess is as good as mine. The layout of Skara Brae was undoubtedly functional. Elements of the village's architecture may have been significant. The passages linked the houses in Skara Brae in a way that it was possible to travel from one house to the other without ever having to step outside. And in the midst of an Orkney winter, that's not a bad thing. The passages were just over 1 meter high, roofed with stone slabs and then covered by earth. The low height of the passages helped minimize drafts. One main passage led into the village, and at either side of the entrance was a hole that could fit a bar, which indicates that the entire village could be sealed off. Bar holes were found along the entire length of the passages, of which only 2 remain and are visible today. A number of impressive carved stone balls were found at Skara Brae. The spiral carvings on some of these balls have been linked to objects found in the Boyne Valley in Ireland. Almost all of the artifacts found at Skara Brae were made of bone. More than 3,000 bone beads of all different sizes were recovered. At an inner threshold of a narrow doorway, they found a group of beads and an ornament clustered together. They had been strung together and form a necklace. Other artifacts found during archaeological research were made of animal bones, such as fish, birds, and whale bones. Whale and walrus ivory and killer whale teeth included awls, needles, knives, beads, cutting tools, shovels, axes, small bowls, and ivory pins up to 25 centimeters in length. Many of the artifacts found can be seen in the Orkney Museum in Kirkwall, as well as the National Museum of Scotland. In 2019, a risk assessment was performed to research the site's vulnerability to climate change. The report concluded that the entire heart of Neolithic Orkney World Heritage Site, and in particular Skara Brae, was extremely vulnerable to climate change due to rising sea levels, increased rainfall, and the increase in average temperatures. It also highlighted the risk that Skara Brae could be partially destroyed by one unusual severe storm, and that the storms would not only increase in their intensity but also in their frequency, making the slight chances of such a severe storm greater over time. To visit the site, you must buy a ticket at the visitor center, which houses an excellent restaurant. After watching a short video, you pass through a small introductory exhibition with a few replica finds. You then proceed to a full-scale replica of House 7, complete with a fake wood and skin roof. The reconstructed house gives you a sense of how the people lived back in ancient times. The fire burns, the beds are covered in animal skins, and trinkets are placed in the dresser. The passage and doorway are higher than the original passages and doorways in the village. If you do travel to Scotland and you are able to visit Orkney, I recommend seeing not only Skara Brae but also the Ring of Brodgar, Maes Howe and the Stones of Staines. You will be mesmerized by the way the people lived back then and the monuments they constructed. If you do visit one of these ancient sites, please make sure to be careful and show respect to these monuments. If you enjoyed watching, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you like these kind of videos and click the bell icon for notifications every time I upload. If you haven't seen my previous videos, then click the link in the description down below or click the card in the upper right corner. And for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one, where we will visit the Dutch dolmens.